Hi, Raymond, and welcome to EntrepreneurCast. It's such a great pleasure to have you with us today.
I'm honored to be on your show, Svetlana.
So, Raymond, before we get going with the business side of things, tell us a little bit about who are you outside of your business and what do you enjoy doing in your spare time?
Well, I graduated as a physicist and mathematician, but I never worked in that field. And I had 20 years of a horrible life, failing and failing and failing, until finally at age 39, I got fired. I got divorced on the same day. I was $100,000 in debt. My life was going downhill. And finally, I got a coach just by accident. And he said I had to write a book to get branded. I said, write a book? I'm a failure. But I actually had made a lot of money in real estate before. So I wrote a book on real estate. Suddenly I became a teacher, and suddenly my whole life flourished. And for the last 33 years, I've been teaching. When I'm not teaching or traveling around the world, I love to play with my cats. I ride a unicycle, and I'm fit. I'm an athlete.
So, tell us about your business. I know there are quite a few things that you do and train on, but what is the main thing you're known for?
I teach you how to double your income doing what you love. I teach you how to be branded. I teach you how to get out of the sea of sameness. I teach you how to have your business work harder for you than you work for it. I teach you how to earn more in a month than you earned all last year.
Amazing. I guess people will get really inspired listening to this. How do you do that? How people actually double their income doing what they love? Because, a lot of people obviously go into a job and do not really enjoy it. And they think that in their real true passion, it is impossible to make money, for example. So how do they double their income?
Well, you brought up two questions. I want to answer the second one first, and that is people think that if they do what they love, they will earn less money. And that is a very common misconception amongst broke people. If you look at wealthy people, every single one of them is doing, or if they passed away, was doing only what they loved. Bill Gates and Steve Jobs totally love what they do. Sir Richard Branson, Warren Buffett, Donald Trump, every single person who's successful did what they love to do. The only people who don't do what they love are broke people. So let's think about it. People who do what they love make a fortune. People who do what they don't love are broke. And yet broke people think if they do what they love, they'll be even broker. It's just a misconception.
So I guess because the passion drives successful people, right? Because they enjoy it so much.
Well, that's one thing. But another is, why would I want to be interviewed by you? Why would I want, I mean you personally, Svetlana, why would I want to be interviewed you if you didn't like what you were doing? Why would I want to buy anything from you? Why would I want to be coached by you if you didn't enjoy what you were doing? It'd be a horrible experience. So the only way to make your fortune is to do what you love. There is no other way. And broke people who claim that if they did what they love, they'd earn less money are just unschooled. They just haven't read anything. They just haven't bothered learning. And they're giving up. They're just saying, they're just using that as their excuse for not doing what they love.
So Raymond, you do a lot of stuff. You're a fit person. I know I follow you on Facebook as well. I know you go to the gym, you work out, you have your beautiful wife Karen, and you always travel around. So you probably don't really have a typical day. But what would you say your typical day looks like?
Well, today I'm being interviewed by you. I'm finishing two books, and I am pre- I'm preparing to I'm preparing 19 videos. Today is my final day for getting the final of 19 videos all organized. So today is a creative day. But another day I could be like next week I'm flying to Singapore. I'm on stage with Sir Richard Branson. So every day is completely different. it's not like a dentist who goes to work every day and he claims his day is different, and his days are basically the same. He just gets different teeth to drill. But I don't go into my office. I have an office. I have about 10 staff full time and another 10 who work on contract. And I don't go to the office. So far this year, it's been 2.5 months. I've been there once. Last year, I think I was at the office 4 times. I work from home. So I can do my creative work and fly around the world giving speeches. That's my unusual, varying, never the same life.
That's amazing. So, Raymond, throughout our entrepreneurial and business life, we come across a lot of challenges, and I know you had a lot. But what would you say was your greatest challenge, and how did you manage to overcome it?
When I was 39, my boss fired me. And when I came home and told my wife I was unemployed, she divorced me. And I learned that getting divorced and fired on the same day are just extreme forms of market research. And the market research was telling me that I was completely useless. Everything I was doing was wrong. Nutritionally, I was 50 pounds overweight. Matrimonially, I was dumped. Vocationally, I was fired. Financially, I was $100,000 in debt. Psychologically, I was depressed. Every single thing was wrong. And I was sitting on a park bench. It's the only thing a 39-year-old life loser can afford to do. And a guy sat down beside me and said he was a coach. And I was mad at the world because I'm a smart guy. I graduated as a physicist, immense IQ, which is the top 2% of IQ in the entire world. And I'm broke. And all my stupid friends are rich. And all my genius friends are broke physics professors. And so I couldn't figure anything out. I didn't understand. If I'm smart, I should be able to figure things out, but I can't. And stupid people have figured things out and they're rich. And my genius friends have dignified jobs as professors and are all broke. So nothing made sense. When he said he was a coach, I said, so go help some kids with pee-wee soccer. What the hell do I care? Like, I was mad at the guy. I was rude to the guy. And he said, he doesn't help kids. He helps adults get rich. And I said, get out of here. You can't help people get rich. Rich is like magic or a fluke or 1 in a million, or you're born with it or something. I didn't know how to get there. And he said, obviously I didn't know how to get there. And he said that if you can learn math and you can learn physics, why can't you learn rich? I didn't have an answer. I didn't even know rich was learnable. I thought you just had it or didn't have it. So he started asking me some questions. He said, how do you become a butcher? I didn't see the relevance, but I answered. And I said, well, you sign up for a school called Butcher School, taught by people who are butchers. And at the end of school, you're a butcher. He says, very good. How do you become a pilot? I said, you sign up for a school called Pilot School, taught by people who are pilots. At the end of school, you're a pilot. He says, guess how you become rich? I said, go on. You sign up for a school called Rich School, taught by people who are rich. At the end of school, you're rich. He said, exactly. That's exactly how it is. I said, well, I didn't know that. He said, I know you don't because you're broke. You've never studied rich. You don't know anything about it. You know about math and physics, and you don't know anything about rich. So he said to me, what's the most important thing about getting rich? I had no idea. I couldn't even come up with 10, and then he would help me choose the one. I couldn't even come up with one. I didn't even know one thing you needed to be rich. I figured smart would do it, but I'm smart and I'm broke. So I couldn't figure anything out. And he told me the number one requirement is to be branded. I said, branded? What are you talking about? Nike is branded with that swoosh, and Kellogg's is branded, and Apple is branded, and Lamborghini is branded. Brad Pitt is branded. But what's that got to do with me? I'm just a mathematician. How do you get branded? I didn't know anything. And he taught me how to get branded. He taught me what the 4 ways are to get branded. And then I chose one of them, which was writing a book. And I didn't think I could write a book. I thought the only book I could write was how to be a 39-year-old life loser, 7 easy techniques. Like, what did I know? But I had made money in real estate before. I just lost it in a divorce. So I wrote a book, You Can Make $1 million in real estate. And suddenly people wanted to learn from me, and they started coming to me, and I started teaching. And all of a sudden, I had 7 people in my first course, 20 people in my second course, 65 in my third, 65 in my fourth, 110 in my fifth, and then 240, then 540. It just mushroomed because I had a book, because I was branded. Opportunities were coming to me, clients were coming to me, goodies of life were coming to me, newspaper and radio and television interviews were coming to me, because the experience that normal people have, people who have middle to low income, is that you have to bash your head against the wall for every buck, that life is tough, that money doesn't grow on trees, that there is scarcity in the world. And that is exactly true for people who are not branded. Everyone who's branded, money just comes to them.
So would you say the breakthrough moment was when you found your coach and you realized that you don't have to be broke, you can actually, just learn how to be rich and go for it?
Yeah, I didn't find him, he found me. He sat down beside me on the park bench. I was rude to him. He actually had to force himself to stay.
Amazing. So Raymond, you have an incredible story, and I guess one of the biggest successes would be, overcoming that, and becoming successful. But what would you say was your greatest success throughout your journey?
The greatest success was deciding to have a brilliant coach and follow his instructions and get branded. The technique I used for getting branded was writing that book. And then all of a sudden, famous people wanted to know me. Not a single famous person wanted to know me when I was $100,000 in debt and broke and not going anywhere in life. All of a sudden, I now have as friends almost every famous person in the world. Jack Canfield, the Chicken Soup for the Soul fame. I go on vacation with him twice a year. He had no interest in knowing me when I was 39, not because he was pompous or anything, just because I had nothing to offer. Why would anybody want me as a friend? I had nothing to offer. So my biggest success is that I've actually followed my coach's instructions. I wrote a book, I got branded, and then with integrity, I moved forward doing only what I love. If we want to get spiritual, there's only 3 questions that spirituality asks. Where did I come from? What am I doing here? And where am I going next? There's about 10,000 religions, and each religion differentiates itself by its answers to those 3 questions. So a Buddhist, where are you going next? A Buddhist will say, I'm coming back. And a Christian will say, I'm going to float around in heaven smiling for a long time. So they're just different answers, but that's what differentiates Christianity from Buddhism. And I'm not interested in the first and third question as much as I'm interested in the second question. It's more interesting, at least for my clients. What are you doing here? And when they tell me they don't like their job, I say to myself, what are you doing here? You're gonna rent your spot on earth for like 80 years or so, doing something you don't like and doing it not that well because you don't like it. That's how you decided to rent your 80 years here? What a horrible waste. And so one of the things that I've discovered is that humans are complicated enough that they have more than one reason for being here. But they're not so complicated that they have 10 or 20 reasons. It's too much. You can't remember all your reasons for being here. And so in coaching people for over a third of a century, Svetlana, what I've come to realize is that each person on the planet has 3 reasons for being here. And my 3 are great teacher, great husband, and great father. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at them. I've had a couple divorces, but I kept working at it. I kept getting coaching on it. I kept trying to understand why I wasn't doing well with women. And finally, I read books on it, got a coach on relationships, And I have the most amazing relationship now with my sweetheart, Karen. And so I finally, I don't want to say I'm perfect, but I'm in really good shape on great husband. On great father, I have two daughters and two stepdaughters, and the relationships are not perfect. They are not, but I'm working on them. And in great teacher, I am profoundly successful. There are millions and millions of people who have seen me in person. They've read my one or more of my 8 books. They've seen podcasts. They've seen webinars. I've touched millions of people around the world. Like next week, for example, I'm going to be in Singapore on stage with Sir Richard Branson. And I've been on stage with him before. I've been on stage maybe 25 times with Donald Trump while he was a developer, not when he was a politician. And I know many of the most famous people in the world, but it's all come to me now that I've been branded. And the number of people I've helped is so wonderful. So I'm amazing at great husband. I'm not that good at great father because my relationships are not perfect with my 4 girls. But I'm amazing at great teacher. And so life isn't over until it's over. And I'm working on having all 4 of my girls be in wonderful relationship with me. And I work every day to have Karen love me even more. Like, for example, today I went to her favorite bakery. It's called Social Cupcake. They make totally high-end, extraordinarily tasty, exquisitely beautiful cupcakes. And she's the CEO of her company. So I bought a dozen cupcakes, and I just walked in and gave them to her, and everyone crowded around and said, ooh and ah, he must love you. Oh my God, you're such a wonderful person. And I want that. I want her to feel special. I want everyone in her company to look up to her as their CEO, but also I want them to know how well she's loved by me. So I want her to get lots and lots of credit. And so I hope she loves when I do that. Or I'll make her breakfast in bed, or I'll slip out of bed before she wakes up and go to Starbucks and come back and surprise her with a Starbucks. Like, I never take my marriage with her for granted. I never say, okay, I married her, I got the hardware, it's done. No, I surprise her all the time. So I work on those 3. And when I see people, Svetlana, who say, well, if I do what I love, it'll be even worse, they're violating the rule of why you're here. So one of the things that I think your listeners should do is ask themselves the middle question, what am I doing here? Because their religion answers the first and third for them. But the religion doesn't do a particularly good job answering why they're here. No, Christians are told, be a good person, turn the other cheek, be a good Samaritan. And that's nice, but that's just how to get along with people. That's not really why you're here. So I encourage people, if you want to have a wonderful life, a fulfilled life, and make lots of money, you better darn well know why you're here. Because if someone says, oh, Raymond's successful and he's a professional speaker and he's written books, good, I'll be a speaker and an author. No, that's not good. Maybe they should be an artist or a dentist or something. So I think the spirituality comes first. You need to know why you're here. You have to answer question number 2 of the 3 spiritual questions. What on earth are you doing here?
And do you think every person knows within themselves what are they here for? Because sometimes people don't really know why they're here. They don't even think about it. They don't put that question in their heads. They never thought about it, and they don't really realize that they're here for some reason. So what would you say
Right.
to
So
those
Svetlana,
people?
if you were God, would you create men, and when I say men, I mean men or women, would you create men so stupid that they had no idea why they were here, or would you create men knowing why they were here, even if they couldn't quite access it? Which would you do?
Probably knowing.
Yes. And so people need to realize that they're here for a reason, and it's their job to find out the reason. They think their job is to get to work by 9 o'clock or to get the report done by 3 p.m. or something. That's just their duties. But they're the three reasons for them to be on this planet are really much deeper. And you're right that they've never asked themselves the question. They've never wondered why they're here. It's shocking. They never, they just kind of wake up and they're on Earth, and then they get older and then they die, and that's it. Well, that's it if you don't wonder why you're here. Like I see, because I know great father and great husband are two of my three, then when I go to Singapore, just as an example next week, my job is to keep cherishing my daughter and my wife, even if I'm in Singapore, even if it's an ungodly time. Like if my wife gets off work at 5 o'clock and I know between 5 and 6 she likes to speak to me, well, in Singapore, it's going to be 5 a.m. for me. And so the question is, if I'm working and my sleep is disturbed by getting up at 5 a.m., then I may not be able to do as good a job. But if I take my wife for granted, there's no point for life. And so I will get up at 5 in the morning in order, if that's when she wants to talk to me, and I'll talk to her. And then I'll do my best to get back to sleep. But I always keep in mind the balancing act, because I can't spend 100% of my time with my wife, then I can't work. Can't spend 100% of my time with my daughter. We, as humans, we don't have one reason for being here. We have three. So I balance them all the time. I never become a workaholic. I love working hard, but I always observe and know that I have a daughter and a wife. And so that's how I conduct my life. If you're listening to me and you want to make the kind of money I make, then the then you got to start from spirituality first. You got to know why you're here, and then the rest follows.
Raymond,
And if you
go on.
go ahead, if you want to follow me, if you want to come to an event that I'm doing, my last name is Aaron, Aaron, Aaron. And the website that gives you the list of all of my events for the next 6 months is aaron.com/events. Aaron.com/events. If you go there, you'll see all of my events and fly, swim, canoe, kayak, crawl, do whatever you have to do. Come to some of my events. Most of them are not expensive. Some of them just a few $100s, just no big deal. And you get me personally teaching you for 2 days or 3 days. You can get to know me. If you like me, follow me. If you don't like me, move on to somebody else. That's fine. But if you like what I'm saying, then you can either come to an event or you can join me on Facebook. I have a closed Facebook group, and you can join me. My group is called Get Real with Raymond. Get Real with Raymond. And if you just go to Facebook and search under groups, under Get Real with Raymond, you'll find me. And you join it. You have to ask to join, but I check in a few times a day and I'll invite you. And then you can ask me questions and I'll coach you for free. You might wonder, if I've got 100,000 clients around the world and I run 40 businesses, brands, and cash gushing websites, and I don't even know you, why would I offer to coach you? It's not really coaching, it's answering your questions on Facebook. But nevertheless, it's getting my expert advice. Why would I do it? And the funny thing is, I have nothing to do. I have lots of free time. I have so much free time, I take a 1-week vacation every single month because I know what I'm supposed to do. Most people don't know what they're supposed to do, so they fill their life up with 80 hours a week of junk. I know exactly what I have to do, and I don't do anything else, and so I have lots of free time. I have so much free time, even after a 1-week vacation every month, that I also take a 1-month vacation every year, and still have lots of free time. So go to Get Real with Raymond, my closed Facebook group, or go to aaron.com/events and ask me whatever question you want.
Thanks for sharing that. Raymond, I know you're an inspiration to a lot of people. But do you yourself have people who inspire you or so-called personal heroes?
Oh, that's of course. Every single successful person has models of behavior and coaches. And one of mine is Dr. Nito Kubein, Qubein. He owns Lazy Boy Furniture. He's the president of High Point University. He owns Great Harvest Bread Company. He's chairman of the board of a bank. Very successful, very honorable, very religious, high integrity soul. I love learning from him, and when I say being like him, I don't mean copying him. I mean aspiring to have the virtues that he has.
Raymond, just for fun, really, I always like to find out where people come up with their best ideas. Where do you come up with your best ideas?
Well, it was the holidays recently, and I was just sitting in my room saying, I'm really successful. A lot of my clients aren't. What is it? What the heck is it? What's the difference? And, you know, I've been answering that question for 33 years on stage, but I just started asking it again. So the holidays were a time of quiet. And, oh, my wife's here. Come, come. Yeah, come. Say hello to someone.
Hi, Karen. It's good to meet you.
You're on nationwide television, sweetheart. Yeah, yeah, you are. So I didn't know what answer I would get, but I was just sitting calmly, and I said, now, if I'm more successful than my clients because I have a particular skill, like a great speaker, great author, something like that, then it's not a fair question, because if they can never be as great a speaker as me, then there's no point to the question. So I modified the question and said, what do I have that they don't have that they could easily have? Like, that isn't a special talent or skill. So I wrote a few things down, a few more things down. I came up with 21 things. Then I looked at the list and said, what are those things? Are they skills? Are they acquisitions? What are they? And I realized they were habits. And I realized that I have 21 habits that other people either don't have any of them, or they have just one or two of them, let's say. And so I started writing a little bit about each one of those 21 habits. And then I got the idea I should write a book on, and I'll call it Your Perfect Life, because I have a perfect life. Like, honest to God, it's perfect. I'm fit and I'm happy and I'm youthful and I'm healthy, and my marriage, and at least my younger daughter, and my job and my income, like, it's all so amazing. Almost every property I own is free and clear. Like, kind of life, it's amazing. And so I decided each chapter is going to be a habit, and each chapter is going to have three parts. The first part is what normal people do. And the second part is what I do, which is completely different. And then the third part is how you can do what I do. So there's 21 chapters, and each chapter is in three parts. And I wrote the book in a week because I had no research to do. I already knew everything I needed to know. So I just whipped it off. I just typed and typed and typed. And so no one bothered me. I was just sitting in my room with a glass of water and ice. I typed the whole thing, had my editor clean it up, and it's going to be called Your Perfect Life. As of this videotape, as of this interview, it's not actually out yet, but I'm guessing it'll be out in a few weeks. And so if your listeners want to find it, it's Your Perfect Life, Raymond Aaron on Amazon. And if you check there and it's not there, it's because it's not out yet. But it'll be out soon. And then you can find out my 21 habits. But even if you got all of my 21 habits, you'd still have to answer the three questions, or at least the middle question of why you're here. Because if you have all my habits, all my virtues, let's say, you still have to do something with it. Anyways, that's my rant.
Raymond, you're obviously a very successful man. You went through a lot of challenges and successes, and you have a lot of wisdom. So, out of your experience and wisdom, could you share with us your top three tips and strategies for any entrepreneur or business owner to drive their business and life forward?
Okay, number one, you must get branded. Must, must, must. Not a question, not an option. I'll just give you a quick example of that. One of the thousands of examples, I have a client in London, England, Alif Musari. He's a dentist, and he wasn't earning very well as a dentist because he didn't know how to market himself well, and professionals aren't supposed to market themselves and all that nonsense. So I branded him as the smiling dentist. Well, most people have negative associations with dentists. They associate dentists with pain. So if you find out that this guy is the smiling dentist, well, that's exactly what happened. His book of business filled up, and now he's wildly more successful. And that's like one of thousands and thousands of success stories. But if not for me, and not for writing a book, and not for getting branded as the smiling dentist, he'd still be bashing his head against the wall, taking ads out in Yellow Pages, buying Google AdWords, doing all this crapola, basically trying to attract people to use him as a dentist. But why would they? Why would anyone use just another dentist as their dentist? Because before he met me, he was just a dentist. Well, there's no advantage. There's no benefit to use a dentist. You might as well use that a dentist versus this a dentist. They're all a dentist. They're all just dentists. They don't seem to be differentiable. But when you're branded, you are different. There's a reason why people buy Coke and not Pepsi. Coke has a higher brand than Pepsi. Anyways, the first thing is you must get branded. You want to get branded? Come to one of my events. I'll teach you how to get branded. Another thing is you must answer the second spiritual question, what am I doing here? You must know, even if you can't see how you're going to be able to implement it, and you're frightened that your income might go down, you must at least know why you're here. My daughter has her first boyfriend. Now that's scary to me. I've joined a group called Dads Against Daughters Dating. Dad, it's so scary. My daughter's 15, he's 17. Ah! Anyways, he wants to be a comedian. Now, if I had my choice, I'd say, how about an engineer? How about a lawyer? But I would never say that to him, because if that's what he loves, if that's where his heart is, let him go for it. And if he does it and he's successful, bravo. If he does it and he's unsuccessful, bravo, he went for it. Maybe he'll find out something else. Maybe he'll be an interviewer like you and be a funny interviewer. Maybe that'll be his calling, who knows. So firstly, you must be branded. Secondly, you must know why you're here. And thirdly, the reason I'm a great teacher is because I'm a great learner. And I think most people stop learning when they finish school. Last year, I took 4 4-day courses, and I had 30 days of one-on-one coaching where I was being coached. 30 solid days, not like a 1-hour appointment. 30, like a full day, and then the next full day, not in a row. A few of them in a row, and then a break, and then a few more in a row. And so I spend a great deal of money on learning. I read books. I take courses. And my intention is to be the best in the world. And I may never get there. I don't care. But most people just aspire to do a job. And not to harp on dentists, I just happen to be picking on poor dentists right now. But most dentists do not aspire to be the best dentist in the world. They just want to be a dentist. And they take one or two upgrading courses a year. So they just want to be a good dentist. Well, that's admirable, but it's not going to make them any money. It's when they put their focus on being the best in the world, even if there's no possibility of attaining it. Like there's not even any way for me to know if I've ever become the best speaker in the world because I don't even know what metric to use. Most number of people who've ever attended my class, the most longest applause, most number of standing ovations, like I don't even know what metric to use. So therefore I will never achieve it because I don't even know what I'm looking for. But I do know that I'm looking. I do know that I'm working to be better and better and better and better and better. One time I was on an airplane in business class, and the flight attendant came over to me and said, "Mr. Aaron, you're going to have to close your computer." I said, "Why?" I was flying from Toronto to Vancouver. It's a 5-hour flight. I said, "Why do I have to shut my computer?" She said, "We're landing." I said, "Landing? We just took off." And what happened was I'd spent 5 hours focusing on the presentation that I was about to make that I'd given hundreds of times already. But I was fine-tuning, I was tweaking the tiniest little thing. 5 hours of intense tweaking just to make it better. So get branded, know why you're here, and constantly learn so that you can aim to be the best.
Thank you for
That's what I
sharing
do.
that. Also, Raymond, did you come across any kind of resources that you could share with us which make your life easier?
No, I don't know how to answer that question because it's basically different for each person. Like if I like reading and someone else likes listening to audiobooks, then each person is different. But if what they want to do is learn from me, then come to one of my events. Aaron, that's AARON.com/events. If you want to stay in touch with me, go to my Facebook closed group called Get Real with Raymond. It's facebook.com/groups/Get Real with Raymond. And that's my best recommendation. I'm happy to have your listeners ask me questions, come to my events. Happy to help them.
Amazing. Raymond, I also come across a lot of people who say that at some point in life they came across a book that changed their life. Did you have such a book yourself?
I missed one word. A person or an event or a book, or what did you ask?
A book.
A book.
Yeah, did you come across a book that changed your life?
Yes. Yes. Jack Canfield and I were thinking of writing a book called The First Book That Changed My Life. We're thinking of interviewing famous people like Oprah and Larry King and Bill Clinton and say, what is the first book that changed your life? And we actually went around and interviewed about 10 people, and we got fascinating books. But mine is called Siddhartha. Siddhartha, Siddhartha, by Hermann Hesse, Hesse. Hermann Hesse. It's a very short book. It takes you an hour or so to read. And it's the story of a young man, Siddhartha, searching for enlightenment. And I see myself as that young man on a quest, searching either enlightenment or the goodies of life or the secrets of life or that. I'm always searching. So that's why the book is special to me.
Amazing, thank you. Raymond, you're a very successful man. You travel the world, you live in a dream. But what is next for you? What's your next big goal, dream, aim? And if there is someone today who is listening and could potentially help you get there, who would it be?
Well, that's the most interesting question I've ever been asked in 33 years of being interviewed.
Thank
Svetlana, you get the gold medal, you get the Nobel Prize. So the funny thing is, I I don't like Bill Gates left Microsoft to run the foundation. I and Donald Trump left being a real estate developer to be a politician. I love teaching. Oh, I just remembered when I was in high school, an English teacher I loved, Mr. Spence. I just loved him. He came into class one day and said that he was just offered a promotion to head of the English department. I said, wow, he deserves it. I love him so much. And then he told us he turned it down. I couldn't understand it. And he said, I'm here because I love teaching. I love being with students and seeing them learn. If I accepted the job as department head, I wouldn't be dealing with students. I'd be dealing with administrators and teachers. And that's not what I want. And I realized, just this minute, I realized that I just did the same thing, that I don't aspire to move up to something else. I'm already where I want to be. I love teaching, and I'm really good at it. Teaching and coaching, I'm really, really good at it. So I don't want to retire. I don't want to retire and play golf or retire and lie on a beach in Fiji. I like lying on a beach in Fiji for a week, but not as my life purpose. In fact, I was wondering, I asked my coach if I should retire, because I didn't want to retire. But when I was 65, everybody I knew was retiring, so I thought I'd ask the question. And my coach asked me to look up the word in the dictionary. I said, are you nuts? I know what retire means. He says, look it up. Fine. So I look it up, and retire means to take out of useful service. I went, ah! That's not what I want. So I'm not going to retire. I've decided to live in abundant health until age 120 and die on stage, meaning be still a teacher.
So just continue doing what you're doing and inspiring people, impacting lives.
That's right. So I don't need someone to help me get there because I'm there. But what I do need here is students. I can't be a great teacher without students. So if you would like, I don't mean you personally, Svetlana, I mean your listeners. If you would like to be a student of mine, I would be honored. I can't do what I do without students.
Brilliant. Raymond, we are coming to the end of the show, but before we say our goodbyes, is there anything else that you would like to add or advise to the listener today?
My favorite expression is, snowmen fall to earth unassembled. Everybody can see the snowflakes. Your job is to see past the snowflakes to the snowmen that you could create. Most people only see the snowflakes, or they see the bad news, like car accidents because of snowy roads. But my job, and your job, Svetlana, and the job of all the listeners, is to see the beauty and the possibilities and the entrepreneurial possibilities from whatever events are going on in the world. And if you want me to be the person who helps you, go to aaron.com/events. If you want to connect with me, facebook.com/groups/getrealwithraymond.
Amazing. And that's two best ways to get in touch.
You got it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sparing a few minutes of your time with us today. It's been a total delight, and I really look forward to seeing you again in London.
I thank you, and I look forward to that.